Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome to Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Sunil Subramaniam, MD and CEO at Sundaram Asset Management, joining in. Welcome to the show, Sunil. A pleasure to speak to you once again. And I think we're catching up again. I think almost after 2 to 3 months. We last spoke when the lockdown had actually just started. Hope you're keeping safe. Hope your family is safe and all around in terms of colleagues as well.
Yes, Cyril, thank you for asking. Yes, we are all safe, and I trust the same with you and the Nirmal Bank family, and with all the people who are signing in now. Wishing them all the very best in these challenging times.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Sunil, overall, I think when we were talking last time, the outlook seemed slightly grim about markets, and not everyone really anticipated this kind of a rally from March lows to what we've seen right now. What do you make of this market rally, not only in terms of the domestic markets, but globally also this phenomenon has continued?
So I think that basically it boils down to the fact that I think despite the second wave, which you hear in parts of Europe and in the US, right? I think the world has done a good job of medically tackling this problem. I think the lockdowns, right,
Hmm.
have worked very well overall in terms of controlling the pandemic. That's number one. Number two is the fact that the efforts parallelly to develop a vaccine have been on multiple fronts and a coordinated action. So you have half a dozen places where vaccines are looking promising. So that has given a confidence to the world
Hmm.
that we can reasonably in a period of time look forward to a COVID-free world, right? That's the second. So the lockdown was a temporary phenomenon of containing it, but a longer term solution of out of this COVID is beginning to visit, which was not the case 3 months ago,
Hmm.
right? So I think that has contributed to the feeling of optimism that if you have a vaccine at whatever cost it gets distributed, world can come back to normal, right?
Hmm.
That's the second. The third thing which has happened is the uncertainty of the US election has gone away.
Correct.
I think with Mr. Biden coming there, I leave alone the implications for the US economy or US versus China. One thing is definitely certain is that Mr. Biden is open to trade, open to immigration, and open to what would I call it? That the non-China partners of America, like the NATO, the US, North Americas, and Canada, he's definitely going to be open to them. Trump was very, very only America, America all over the king. So
Correct.
once that happens, world trade will definitely get a pickup and the fear. So I think that effectively that's what has given a positive tinge to the markets, supported by the fact that the Fed has clearly, unambiguously said for 3 years we're going to look at close to zero interest rates.
Correct.
I think overall markets look for uh, not the actual news on the ground becoming better, but the hope of news becoming better because markets are impatient. They don't wait for the actual reality to improve, but they want to get in there before that happens. So classically, that's what I would then summarize to say that from 3 months back, where it was a flight to safety and a risk off,
Hmm.
now you're clearly moving from a risk off to a risk on scenario. So I
Right.
think that has made it more broad based, the rally, and I think that's what is given a fillip. So
Right. So, Sunil, do you think this is something which is going to be sustainable, taking the valuations into consideration? Because what's happening is someone who was really scared earlier to enter the markets is now feeling that probably we've missed the bus because markets are already at record high levels. From here on, if someone has to look at markets, do you think this is a good time? The rally is going to be sustainable and we can start investing.
So if you look at it, to me, the word markets is bandied about, you know. So effectively, this lifetime high and whatever you're talking about
Hmm.
is 10 to 15 stocks.
Correct.
Very polarized rally, right? So by no way are the markets at a lifetime high.
Mm.
There are a few stocks which are definitely expensive, definitely at lifetime and highs and well above, because the history of the last 12 months, India is the only emerging market to have got flows for the calendar year 2020, especially from April, the financial year onwards, phenomenal. About 1,70,000 crores of money has come, right? So naturally, a foreigner investing in India would only invest in the visible India.
Mm.
That is, where is the growth visible? So they have been buying good stocks, good quality stocks in good sectors. Beyond that, they have ignored good stocks in cyclical sectors, and they have absolutely ignored the fact that in good sectors there are companies which are not as good as the great ones.
Mm.
So they have chosen to stick to the narrow path of where is their sectoral certainty of growth, and within that, which is the company which is going to grab the biggest piece of that growth, right? So
Correct.
pharma, IT, classically, which have had a clear visibility. Pharma because of the COVID linkages, IT because IT is the one field which has actually benefited from the work from home and the increasing need for data, people using your Netflix and using cloud and everything else. So these two sectors have dominated and have taken the market to lifetime highs, because that market you define is a Sensex or a Nifty. But now
Mm.
you still look at the broader market, right? And you say, no, no, the broader market is also quite high. That's because in the BSE 500 also, 80% is large caps.
Correct.
So in reality, we don't really have a broad market index. Your BSE 500, because of the market cap weightages, is
Mm.
tilted to large cap and hence is also showing very high. But in reality, in BSE 500, 50 stocks are accounting for the rise.
Mm.
So you still have 450 stocks there which are very far. So when I say, what I'm trying to say is that people can still invest and must invest
Mm.
because one, the expensive nature of the polarized rally for those stocks means that automatically that money will start spilling over into other cyclical sectors gradually. Number one.
Mm.
Number two, as the economy comes into a recovery, you'll
Mm.
get new growth paths which were shunned in the past coming up. So I think that if you invest in a truly diversified portfolio and not something like a BSE 500, I mean, we don't have BSE 500 index funds, but I'm just saying, look at it as the fact that there is a lot of wealth to be created in broader India.
Mm.
So you should definitely look at staying invested and not get carried away by the P ratios of the Sensex or the Nifty, because they reflect a particular phenomenon which happened in the past.
Right. So Sunil, is it right to say that if someone who's entering the markets right now, from a next 12 to 18 months perspective, this is the best time to start doing staggered investments, and this is the best time to look at broader markets taking into consideration, because if I see the FI and the mutual fund data as well, the FIs have been invested in large caps, whereas mutual funds also are now sitting with cash to start looking at investing in the broader markets. So is that the phenomenon that we're expected to see from here on?
Absolutely. And so I would say this move, so first of all, it's from risk off to risk on.
Hmm.
So it's from safety to not necessarily risky, but safety to cyclicals.
Hmm.
Because safety comes from predictable earnings. Cyclical, the unpredictability, because when does the cycle recover, right? So from predictable earnings to unpredictable earnings, which is where the skill of somebody picking a stock in a sector comes into play. So
Hmm.
that's number one, right? The second aspect here is that there is this shift will happen within the large cap itself, because in a 50 stock Nifty or a 100 stock Nifty 100, there are hardly a quarter of the stocks which have gone up. There is still three quarters of the portfolio where you can make good picking. So that's one. Second is you come beyond large caps to mid caps and small caps.
Hmm.
But the initial rally that you're seeing in the GDP numbers, the initial rally you're seeing in demand pent up, one factor of that is attributable to a pent up release. Because you had locked up people, you had forced people, there is a relief expenditure. That's one.
Correct.
Second is there was also Diwali, which is generally a time people will like to feel happy and spend. Right? So I think the recovery in the subsequent months will not be as strong as this initial pent up plus Diwali rally. So growth will take time because Indian economy, and remember one thing, we all try to blame COVID as the big villain, right?
Right.
COVID and then the lockdown is the big villain. But remember, pre-COVID, for the last 2 years, Indian economy has not been in a great shape. We have a
Correct.
declining GDP growth. So today, a lot of people's data, they are saying that, oh, back to pre-COVID, 90% of pre-COVID, 80% of pre-COVID. But pre-COVID itself was not like one fantastic time. 2 years prior to that, right from whatever, December 2017, January,
Right.
you have started various reasons, ILFS crisis, negative inflation in rural India, started a slowdown. So just getting back to pre-COVID is not good enough for India. We need to get back to pre-December 17 levels, which you have to give it time. So that's where what point you're making about making staggered investments makes sense, because we may reach pre-COVID levels pretty quickly. But if you want market to reach lifetime highs, broader market, right, then you got to wait for some time for regular growth to pick up, right? For which there are a lot of triggers. There's a trigger of the budget, which government has to lay out their infrastructure plans, how they are going to finance it, right? What's going to happen. Then there is also this big push for FDI, from China plus one strategy. So that FDI announcements have to come ground level. So you have to give the economy a little bit of a time. You're going to see a V, and then you're going to see a slight flattish move, right? So I would say staggered investments for the next 12 to 18 months is a perfect way to capture the uncertainty plus the positivity on the future.
Right. So taking this strategy into consideration, and for example, you have IT and pharma who were good beneficiaries in this rally that we've already seen for obvious reasons. Chemicals was another sector which actually saw a good pickup as well. From here on, which sectors do you think will see a good bounce back, which will be again in a V-shaped form and sustainable?
So the first sector which I see a strong bounce back happening is the banking and financial services sector. Because I think that the whole moratorium plus the restructuring of the Kamath committee has helped the banks NPA issues a lot. Because in the moratorium, you never recognize any NPA. And then when you came and restructured the loans, the risk of future NPAs drops dramatically because you're staggering the loans over a longer period for people to pay. Second is banks are flush with money because RBI has pumped in 6.5 lakh crores of liquidity purely into the banking system.
Right.
Reverse repo rates are so low, and they hence are sitting on a lot of liquidity and are ready to lend when there is demand picking up. Right? So when demand picks up, they will not immediately need to drop the prices, because within the banking segment, right, there's a sharp polarization between good quality banks and bad quality banks. Right? You're seeing so the good banks are going to increase market share, both in corporate lending and in retail lending. So I would pick the top creme de la creme of PSU banks and then a broader range of good quality private sector banks. Third aspect to this is that any recovery needs funding.
Correct.
Right? And that has to come from the banking system, right? But I believe that the next level of growth will actually be financed by the NBFCs, because the NBFCs have actually been missing from the market post the ILFS crisis. They have not got the kind of funding initially. Funding at fantastic rates, right? And you'll be aware of that. And the second is with RBI coming in now, putting more discipline and control around monitoring of SBSCs for the capital markets. That's a big source of comfort, because otherwise there was a gray area of uncertainty, which meant that you would hesitate to, the risk premium associated was much higher. But with RBI coming in exercising controls, I think for the NBFCs to raise funds both from the equity markets and debt markets will be much easier, and they can reach areas that no bank can reach.
Mm.
So that's the second is the NBFC. I said BFSI. The third is, I believe, is the insurance sector. I
Mm.
think COVID has been a big boost to insurance. So I think insurance and related, even asset management as an industry, right? I think these are all set to now grow at a rapid pace. So I would say BFSI would be my first pick in terms of the recovery because they also got hurt the most
Post.
post COVID. So there's also a valuation play and there is a growth play. So to me, that's the number one pick. The second pick would be higher end consumption. You know, FMCG is something that even in a downturn, people had to buy soap, had to buy toothpaste. So there they didn't see a much sharper downfall, but they will not see a much. But the high-end consumer discretionary, as it's called, right? Where you have the durables, you have auto. So in consumer discretionary, I would include three things. I would include consumer durables, I would include auto,
Mm.
and I would include housing.
Correct.
So these three segments, right, I see as the next phase of the recovery because the pent up demand last summer was a washout for the consumer durables because summer is the time people buy air conditioners, but the lockdown came and killed it all. So this summer will be a blowout summer, according to me, because all that postponed purchases will come to play. So consumer durables will be good. I think auto will be very, very good because you had a bad past year. So
Mm.
all auto numbers are going to look good on a YOY basis.
Mm.
And I think that ultimately vehicle upgradation and all of that, I think the March you'll have a depreciation driven boost for that. The only part of the auto which I still have a doubt about is the cyclical commercial vehicle segment.
Mm. Mm.
That I think is still in a cyclical downturn, and I think it'll take some more time for it to come. But I think passenger vehicles and two wheelers, entry level cars, all of those I see bouncing back, and rural tractors and power tillers. Also, with good monsoon, good kharif, rabi crop, good kharif crop, I see that already tractor sales are showing a very good growth. I think that will sustain for a few more months. So that's auto and housing. Housing loan rates are creeping to all-time lows.
Mm.
There's already secondary market housing sales have picked up dramatically. Soon that will spill over in terms of the real estate sector will get a boost because existing unsold capacity will start getting used up. So this is the next trend. The third trend will be your industrial, cyclicals, capital goods, all of which will take another 12 months for the recovery to come because private sector's capacity expansion is going to take time. They're already sitting on a very low capacity utilization. They have enough room to cater to jump in demand. So
Mm.
domestic private sector will take time to build additional capacity. So I
Mm.
think that will be the one which will lag. But I mentioned the infrastructure section of the budget and FDI. Those two, if they come in, could help that sector recover faster.
Right. So Sunil, with this, another sector which has very good valuations right now is hospitality as well as travel. And we have Burger King as an IPO which came in as well, which did receive a lot of interest overall. What do you make of this sector? And do you think this is something where you could probably have an early entry right now, good growth that can be anticipated, if not in the next 12 to 18 months, at least from a 2 to 3 year perspective?
Absolutely. Because especially I would look at asset light industries. You mentioned their IPO, right? That's not a heavy real estate for India.
Right.
Whereas the hotel industry has heavy real estate investment, right? So their interest burden and all that will be there. But asset light services related industries, malls, multiplexes, eating joints, because the pent up demand, right? It's a part of that release that you will now actually go and spend more
Mm.
because you missed it for so long. So
Mm.
I think these are good long-term plays because Indian economy is definitely on the recovery path. It's only a matter of time, and I think these are all definitely longer-term bets where the recent corrections have been overdone, and I think whatever you pick up over the next few months, I think will hold you in good stead in the long term.
Right. And what would your view be with pharma, chemicals, and IT? Someone who's holding these stocks already, do you think this is the time to book profits and then rejuggle your portfolio for the other sectors that we've spoken about?
I mean, yes, if you have a limited amount of money and you've already blocked it there, you want to buy something else, you go to reallocate it, right?
Mhm.
So I would say the first port of call should be to reallocate is from gold.
Mhm.
because gold has enjoyed a good run because the world was not growing. So people parked it there. But as soon as world economy recovers, gold is going to lose its sheen gradually. So I would say that start by booking profits in gold,
Mm.
and then you start your booking profits in pharma to some extent. And the third sector that you mentioned there was something else. You said chemicals. So in chemicals, there's a two different place. See, specialty chemicals. See, India in this PLI scheme, right? I think chemicals is one key industry where from China we still have a good opportunity to shift stuff here. So I would say chemicals, I would still say there is juice. I would not
Mm.
say it's time to book profits. I know the run up has been quite good, but I
Mm.
would still say chemicals is a good potential area for India because it's a traditional area of strength for India. And I think business from China, diversion from China is ripe for the taking there. So in chemicals, I would say there is still juice.
Mm.
In pharma also, you see, you look at broader pharma, there's export-oriented pharma, there's domestic pharma, there's hospitals and diagnostics, right? So I would still say domestic pharma has a good potential. It's the export-oriented one where, depending on who gets the vaccine order,
Right.
they will have a blowout, but not every pharma company will get the order.
Mm. Mm.
So I think if you have enjoyed the early part of the ride in pharma, you can definitely take some profits. But I would still say that there's no need to panic on pharma. I would still say 12,
Mm.
18 months, you'll still make decent returns from pharma, but it won't be the kind of multi-bagger which has proved to be in the past.
Past. Right. And very lastly, Sunil, overall right now, what's happening is that there is consumer confidence in India, which is at its lowest right now. Now that people are getting that confidence, that and then people are leaving aside COVID and moving on from here on. When you talk about all the sector, manufacturing coming to India as well from China, you have a lot of sectors that have been spoken about that yes, these are the sectors which are going to be beneficiaries. Taking government spending into consideration, the expectation again is that that could be low right now, and they're going to only spend on what's going to be necessity, taking the stimulus packages into consideration. How do you see the shape of the economy from here on? Because what's happening right now is everyone's scared about will the economy also be able to recover the way we've been talking about markets right now. What is your sense?
See, my sense is that you have got it right that government will have limited room to spend on infrastructure, right? So I think, and the government's focus is also going to make making people's lives better to that extent of directly on the consumer side of it rather than on the capex side of it. But that being said, I think what we have seen from the government through the Atmanirbhar program, through everything that they've done, is they have not lost sight of the long term.
Hmm,
If you
hmm.
imagine, they've put through a lot of reforms. I mean, the latest controversial reform is out there being debated, the agriculture part. But even non-agriculture, opening up the private sector, opening up sectors like defense and railways for FDI, right? So I think a lot of reforms have been pushed through, which have made an enabler for infrastructure, which would be has to be financed by foreigners.
Correct.
I agree, our government, but I believe that the government will open that, and that's where Mr. Biden coming there in a world which is open to trade and open to this. I believe that that's why I said at the beginning of today that I believe that while our market rally has been foreigner driven, I believe our economic recovery will also be foreigner driven,
Hmm, hmm.
right? So I think that that gives me the confidence that while government has to only create the enablers, land reforms, labor reforms, creating these tech parks, creating taxation related incentives, making the whole ease of doing business
Business.
right for foreign capital to flow in. So, and I believe that's what the direction will take. So, while the government may not be able to spend much on infra, I believe they'll open up a lot of the infra to private sector abroad, and the low taxation, 17% taxation, plus the fact that they've given 100% tax waiver
Hmm.
for 3-year investment in infrastructure, whether it is for dividends, for capital gains, and interest. So
Interest.
already ADIA, Kia, all those sovereign wealth funds and all of that are beginning to fund. So I am confident that our infrastructure story will get a boost from FDI. And hence,
Mm.
those sectors which are going to create that capacity, cement, building materials, steel, metals which are going into the electrical wiring, copper, aluminum, all of them will see a boost because they're still at low valuations. They're still not risen very much. And so there is a good, if you have a, just have to have a 3 to 5 year perspective,
Mm.
I believe that's a very good wealth creation opportunity behind the suppliers to infrastructure.
Absolutely. I think a lot of sectors that we touched upon, Sunil, today, and it's really good to hear some optimistic views as well with regards to markets, because right now everyone's been hearing only to pessimism, only to negativity, or there is some bit of scare either whether we should save or will we lose money if we invested. But thank you so much for your views and good insights. I hope everyone has picked up from this conversation as well. I hope you enjoyed the conversation too. Thank you. Stay safe and speak to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Hiral, and all the best to all your viewers too.
Thank you.